Welcome back to The Slash, and in today's video, we're going to be doing something that a lot of you gave a very positive reception to the last time I did it. We're going to be trying to figure out who killed who in Scream 6, the latest entry in the beloved slasher franchise that was released in March. The first time I did this was with season 1 of the MTV Scream series, and you guys went fucking nuts over it. So I gotta keep the view count going up somehow. Scream 6 added a lot of fresh additions to a franchise that many believed was going stale. It's the first entry in the franchise to feature 4 killers as opposed from the regular 2. It gave us way bloodier and more brutal kills, and most notably an entirely new setting taking place right in the heart of the Big Apple, New York City's own Manhattan. If you want to watch my review on this movie, I've linked it down in the description below. If you're curious as to where it sits on my ranking, I'd probably put it below 5 and 1, but above 4, 2, and 3. It was my second favorite when it first came out, but I think recency bias had a lot to do with it. Don't get me wrong, this movie is fucking awesome, but I think I just enjoyed 5 a little bit more. So as I said before, Scream 6 gave us 3 killers to work with this time around. Technically 4, but we'll get into that in a bit. Specifically, Detective Wayne Bailey, Ethan Kirsch, and Quinn Kirsch, who were all revealed to be part of Richie's family and who all want to avenge him by killing Sam and anybody that has to do with his murder. It's a bit of a common motive, sure, but I think it works well for a movie that's trying to emulate Scream 2 while still being its own movie. These 3 killers gave us 13 kills in this movie, which is the second highest amount after Scream 4, which has 1 extra body to help it remain in the first place spot. Today we have to figure out who was behind the mask during each of these kills. Laura Crane, Greg Bruckner, Jason Carvey, Bodega Customers 1 and 2, Bodega Clerk, Dr. Stone, Paul, Annika, Brooks, and the 3 killers themselves. Keeping this information in mind, we can already determine 5 of these through process of elimination, and that's Laura Crane, Brooks, and the 3 killers. Let's talk about those first before we start playing the guessing game, starting with Laura Crane. Film studies professor Laura Crane, played by Samara Weaving, is the opening kill of this movie, who meets her grisly fate after she answers a call from Reggie, who is supposed to be her Tinder date. Laura and Reggie strike up some awkward conversation, before Reggie admits that he's not able to find the bar she's sitting in, and asks her to go outside and identify it so he knows where to go. Still unable to find it, Reggie asks Laura to cut across the street and into an alley so he can have a chance of being able to see her. They still don't see each other, but Reggie starts becoming freaked out when he claims that someone with a knife is waving at him and approaching towards him. Laura, who's obviously freaked out, runs away and attempts to leave the alley before Reggie drops the act and turns on his Ghostface voice changer, unable to fathom why she walked into a dark alley alone if she teaches a class about slasher movies. She eventually bites the bullet, or the blade in this case, when Ghostface runs towards her and stabs her a fuck ton of times in her stomach. Like, he actually eviscerates her. It's insanely brutal. It's also really hard to watch thanks to Samara Weaving's devastating performance and the amazing practical effects. This movie uses some great practical effects, just like the last movie and the majority of the other Scream movies. So, was this kill Wayne, Ethan, or Quinn? Surprisingly, it wasn't any of them. This kill was actually done by Jason Carvey, played by Tony Revolori, who takes off his mask after killing her in a Scream opening kill first. The reason Jason killed her was because he was a fan of Richie's work and wanted to continue his movie he was hoping to make and to make sure his legacy and memory remains. She also gave him a C- on an essay he wrote, so, you know, that's something to be pissed off about. With the opening kill out of the way, we now move on to Brooks, Gail's muscular boyfriend, who is played by Thomas Cadra, and is literally only in 1 scene. He's easily one of the most forgettable characters in the franchise, so don't feel bad if you forgot he died or even existed. You're not alone. Brooke meets his maker when he's in the apartment with Gail and he answers a call coming to the landline, and when he asks who's calling, they say the killer. I wonder if he likes to kill people. Anyway, Brooks hands the phone over to Gail, giving us another franchise first, a fucking phone call between Ghostface and Gail Weathers. 6 movies in, and we finally get a phone call between Ghostface and Gail. I know I'm getting off topic, but I cannot stress enough how legendary this is. We've seen Ghostface call Randy, Cotton, and even Dewey, but never have we seen him call Gail. And what makes this even more amazing is the fact that this entire phone call sequence is one of the best phone calls in the entire franchise. I absolutely freaked out when I first saw this in theaters, and while I kind of wish Gail had died to raise the stakes a little bit more, this entire sequence is still fucking amazing. Okay, I'm sorry, y'all. I just had to geek out for a minute. I fucking love how much new shit Radio Silence is delivering with this new duology, man. It's amazing. Anyways, Brooks gives Gail the phone and he goes to call the cops at Gail's request, and in the background, when Brooks turns the corner back into the other room, we very blurrily see Ghostface get him from behind, no, not like that, and presumably slit his throat, followed by tossing his body through the bookshelf into the living room. This kill was surprisingly actually done by Quinn, played by Liana Liberato, as she literally admits it after her reveal. She was also responsible for Gail's attack, Mindy's subway attack, and one half of Chad Gets Fucked Up But Doesn't Die Part 2. I'm not entirely sure how the skinny 5'5" Quinn overpowered a big, muscular 40-something dude, but since Amber is the one that overpowered Dewey in 5, I guess it's not too unbelievable. Last but not least, we're going to be talking about who killed the 3 Ghosteteers, Wayne, Ethan, and Quinn. These are the easiest ones to figure out since the killers in this movies are usually unmasked by main characters, or usually killed by unmasked main characters, I should say, so don't you worry, we'll be playing the guessing game real soon. Let's start with the weakest kill of the 3, Quinn. Quinn dies by the Ghostface when Sam, once again played amazingly by Melissa Barrera, shoots her in the head, which, like I said, is the weakest kill of the 3. She admittedly does get r/3am jokes by Tara beforehand, but even that isn't enough to make this kill anything memorable, which makes sense since Quinn isn't really a memorable killer IMO. I do think Lyanna Liberato's performance in this movie is solid, both pre and post reveal, but she kinda doesn't bring much to the table in terms of the body count, and she also wasn't around very much beforehand, which makes it hard for her to leave a lasting impression. Next up, we have Ethan Kirsch, played by Avatar: The Way of Water's Jack Champion, who is personally my favorite of the 3 killers in this movie. Jack Champion does a great job at emulating the craziness and mental instability of his older brother, and I love the fact that he has ulterior motives compared to his dad and sister. It's kind of left up to the mind, but I always thought that Ethan just wanted to kill more so because he wants to impress his father and gain his approval, since Richie was always the favorite child. Anyway, Ethan doesn't meet his maker until the very end, but he first gets stabbed 5 times in the chest and stomach by Sam, emulating her Richie kill in 5. It's insanely brutal and bloody, but what really drives this kill home and makes it memorable is when Tara stabs him down the throat. I don't mean through his neck, I mean literally down his throat from his open mouth. She then pushes it down deeper and rips it out with a huge streak of blood. Such good shit, man. I love Scream 5's kills, but after seeing what Radio Silence is really capable of when they follow Randy's rules of sequels, I literally won't be able to look at the old kills the same ever again. Surprisingly though, this still doesn't kill him. He finally meets his end when he comes back for one last scare and gets his skull smashed in with the same TV that killed Stu Macher in the original, by none other than Kirby. She also says this in case you don't get the reference.
I saw that in a scary movie once.
Having Kirby back in this franchise is great, and I'm so glad she got to redeem herself in this movie after almost dying in Scream 4. If I may, it's an honor to see her again. Last but not least, we have Detective Wayne Bailey, played by Dermot Mulroney, who is best known for the painfully boring Purge TV series and Insidious Chapter 3. His kill, though, is by no means painfully boring, and if you thought the Black Christmas remake had nasty eye gore, just wait until you see this kill. Too bad Wayne didn't see this coming. Haha, get it? Anyway, Wayne is brought to a grisly fate when he receives a call from Sam, who disguises her voice with the Ghostface voice modulator. He struggles to find her, but she eventually steps out from behind the curtains in the Ghostface costume and stabs him 32 times all over his torso. She literally stabbed him 10 more times than she stabbed Richie in the last one, and it's also much bloodier this time around. She eventually stops after she agrees to show him mercy, as she doesn't want to end up like her father, but she realizes that fucking with her family is off limits, and she finishes him off by stabbing him straight through the eye. Good God. For a Scream movie, these kills are nasty. Such good stuff. Alright gang, now that we've finished the process of elimination, let's get on to what you guys were really waiting for, the guessing game. To kick off this section of the video, we're going to be actually going back once again to the very beginning to figure out who killed Greg Bruckner and Jason Carvey. After Jason kills Laura, he begins walking back to his apartment when he eventually runs into Tara, who asks him if he's going to be at the frat party tonight. He says he will be as long as her and her sister are there, but Tara says Sam isn't coming. She gets approached by her friends and walks away with them, with Jason telling her to save him a spot at the party. He eventually makes it back to his apartment when he receives a call from who he thinks is Greg with the Ghostface voice changer, but it's Ghostface with the Ghostface voice changer. Jason tells Greg to come out of hiding, but Greg wants Jason to find him in a game of hot and cold. After a couple minutes of torment and searching, Jason begins approaching the fridge, where Greg tells him he's literally on fire. He eventually opens the fridge to find Greg's dismembered body stuffed in the fridge, which, fun fact, this is the first time we've seen a dismemberment kill in Scream. This isn't the last kill that happens in this scene, though. Jason closes the fridge, and behind him appears Ghostface, who stabs him in the back and proceeds to stab the fuck out of his stomach and taunt him while doing so, followed by the signature title card slash. What an opening scene. Determining who killed these two is a bit easier than the other kills in this movie, and I personally think that Detective Bailey was responsible for both of these kills. He's really the only one who would have had a reason to kill them, seeing as Jason and Greg had plans to sabotage his son's legacy by using the hype to create their own. I don't think Ethan or Quinn, especially Ethan, would have had a reason to kill them. The reason why is because Ethan was more in it to gain his dad's approval than to stop his brother's legacy from being tainted, and Quinn was mainly targeting the Woodsboro survivors rather than outside parties. Plus, Ethan was at the party and Quinn was at home having sex with Paul, so, you know, who else could it have been? With those kills out of the way, we now move on to the next 3 kills in the movie, the bodega customers and the bodega clerk. This entire sequence was the center of the most of the trailers and promotional material, and it definitely lives up to the hype. It's extremely innovative and out of the box, especially for a very, very late sequel, and the kills that happen during it are gnarly. Take a look. On her way to the station with Tara, she receives a call from Ghostface using Richie's phone, and after a bit of tormenting, he attacks Sam and Tara. When they're able to run, they end up running into a nearby bodega where Ghostface follows them and kills 3 people, 2 bodega customers and the clerk. First customer is killed with 3 stabs to the torso. The second is killed with a stab to the neck. The clerk receives the most brutal death of all, a stab to the torso, followed by a fucking shotgun blast to the face. This is the first time we've seen Ghostface in costume using a gun to kill somebody, and it's awesome. Although, this actually wasn't supposed to be the first time. In Scream 5, Wes, played by Dylan Minnette, was originally supposed to die with an extended chase scene followed by being shot in the head with a pistol by Ghostface. That plan was ultimately scrapped because it would have been out of place for a Scream movie, but man, very good stuff. I'm probably going to receive a lot of criticism for this, but I actually think that this entire Bodega Massacre was done by Ethan. I don't necessarily see how it could have been done by Detective Bailey, seeing as he was at the scene of Jason and Greg's murder and Quinn was still in the apartment with Paul, that we know of. A lot of people think that Detective Bailey was responsible for this, but there's just no way he could have been unless he's somehow able to teleport. It's just like with Vince's death from Scream 5. A lot of people think that Amber killed Vince, but how the fuck could it have been Amber? She was literally with the group as they were leaving the bar. It had to have been Richie. Anyway, let me put it this way. I honestly don't think that Quinn or Wayne were true psychos. If anything, they were just overcome with grief and sadness, which blinded them and caused them to make irrational decisions. Ethan, on the other hand, gave me vibes that he had ulterior motives and was killing for the sake of killing. I'm sure he did love his brother and is upset that he died, but I think he was in it for a way bigger reason. Next, we move on to Dr. Christopher Stone, who was Sam's briefly seen therapist from the beginning of the movie. Dr. Stone is sitting on his couch watching Invasion of the Body Snatchers when he gets a knock on his door from who he thinks is a late trick-or-treater, but is actually an early Ghostface killer, who kills Dr. Stone by breaking the glass on the door, smashing his head against the door 3 times, and stabbing him through the face in a quick succession. This kill grossed me the hell out when I first saw this movie, and it's still one of my favorites from the movie. It's just so quick and brutal, man. Instantly fatal, too. Ready or not, here he comes to the kill count. Oh, sorry, wrong show. This kill is another one that's pretty hard to pinpoint one culprit to, because it virtually could have been any of the 3. Neither of the 3 killers had an alibi for his murder, but a subtle clue let me know that this kill was done by Detective Bailey. Bailey was really the one who needed Sam's files. He's a detective, and the reason he pulled her files was so he could conduct more research on her and find something to make her look guilty, or make the cops think that Sam was the one who took her own files and killed Dr. Stone, maybe because there was some evidence in there that made her look guilty and she wanted to get rid of it. I guess maybe Ethan also could have done this one, and maybe he could have pulled Sam's files for his dad, so his dad has an alibi when the cops find Stone dead, but that's a little too complicated in my opinion, so we're gonna go with the simpler one. This kill, with my own headcanon, was Detective Bailey. Second to last on our list, we have Paul, the unseen guy who Quinn was having sex with at the beginning of the movie. Like his screen presence, his death is also off-screen, which is a shame when you see how bloody it is. While Ghostface is pursuing the gang in the apartment shortly leading up to Annika's death, Mindy runs into the bathroom to find an extremely bloody and naked body in the bathtub, who is later revealed to be Paul. He lived just as he died, off-screen. The only person I can confidently say 100% killed Paul was Ethan, and the reason why is because of process of elimination too. Quinn is already dead at this point in the movie, and Detective Bailey is presumably at the station researching the files he has on Sam. That's really all I have to say about this one, honestly. Man, I really wish we could have gotten to see how Paul got so bloody. Last but not least, we have the death which many people agree is the best and most impactful one in the movie, and that's Annika. Annika, played by Devin Nakota, became the fan favorite for the movie for her comedic relief, similar personality to Mindy, and just overall how hot she is. And yet Amber stans are the ones that are getting slandered. After Quinn's dead body is thrown onto Annika, Ghostface stabs her in the stomach and begins the process of gutting her, when she is quickly saved by Samantha. Sam, Mindy, and Annika flee to the bedroom where Danny is across the street, who extends a ladder to them so they can escape out the window. Sam and Mindy make it just fine, but when Annika begins crawling on the ladder, Ghostface puts his knife down and begins shaking the ladder, which he eventually flips, and it causes Annika to fall to her death by smashing her skull against a dumpster. I just want to say really quickly that Devin Dakota's performance in this scene is phenomenal, as she's pleading about not wanting to die. It's really powerful stuff, and it made her death all the more sad. I haven't seen her in anything else, but she did have a recurring role in Ginny and Georgia, so maybe I'll have to check it out for her. Anyways, I don't know if this kill was confirmed to be done by Ethan, but that's who I believe it was. Like with Paul's death, Quinn was already dead at that point, and Detective Bailey was presumably at the station, so it realistically couldn't have been anyone else but Ethan. I know that Detective Bailey was the one who replaced Quinn's real body with a fake one after Quinn died, but he probably would have been gone by that point, so yeah, good stuff, Ethan. Anyways, guys, to wrap up this video, that is who I believed who killed who in Scream 6. I really hope you guys enjoyed the second episode of Who Killed Who. If you did, let me know by leaving a like, subscribing, and let me know in the comments which slasher movie or horror TV show or movie you want me to do a Who Killed Who on next. I'll be sure to take a look at all your comments, but until then, my name is Zero, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.